I want it all. You ain't got nothing to lose.
Thank you. I'm the dancing. What? Where does this hat come from? Where do you think? I'm the dancing monk. Where? From which country? I was dancing. I was a dancing monk, really. But which country does this hat come from? Nobody? No. Holland? Also not. Looks like, but it's a monk from what? Tibet. Yes, it is from Tibet. And why? I'm going to talk about that also. So I'm going to start with Micro Frontends. That is my main talk, and I combine it with an adventure in Nepal and Tibet. The contents of the talk is about, I started with the Frontend monolith, and I thought about talking about Micro Frontends and how you build such an app, and how do you communicate between Micro Frontends in your application. 15 years ago, I cycled from Holland to Nepal, Tibet, and it was an 8-month drive on my bike. Here I'm cycling. And then I met also some friends there, and I stepped off my bike, and we going to visit a little park, Bardia Park. Here we are. Here are my friends, and also in the middle you see the guide with his stick, nothing more than that. And he was showing us a rhino. Hey, there's a rhino. But we have to climb it to a tree, he says. My God. Why? Because she has a little one next to her. That is very dangerous. And it was 150 meters, 200 meters from our place. So we have to climb in a tree, each of us in a separate tree. And I was standing on a branch as high as he knows, as the horn of the rhino. Eh? You feel it, eh? You feel it. Okay. And then the guide was yelling, "Oh, fantastic, a rhino!" So I just said, no. He was standing in a tree nearly next to me, and the rhino thought I was yelling. So he was staring with his eyes, ears, very like a radar, and suddenly he's going to walk very fast to my tree. And he stands under my branch. Really? Unbelievable fast. How fast can a rhino run, do you think? Who thinks A? Nobody? Oh, that's good. B? Okay. No, it is C. 50 kilometers an hour. And when you see this, and I was standing here on the branch. He was not so cute as you think it is here. What is this? Here I'm standing on it. And he was waiting there. And then in that split second, I was thinking about a lot of things. I was thinking about, so shall I jump off the branch and run zigzag away? Because then you can survive it. Shall I jump from one tree to the other? You can do that also. And it takes a lot of time, I thought, but it was in a split second. And I was also thinking, perhaps I can better lay on the ground in the long grass, and then he can smell me then, but not see me anymore, because he cannot see very well. What shall I do? Yeah, I'm Peter Eijgermans from Ardina, Holland. And I work for the department GS Roots, which is specialized in front-end technology. And I'm going to talk about I start further with the monolith. The Rhino is also a monolith, a big structure. And we have also in our applications a monolith as a big ball of mud. Everything is tightly coupled together, so we don't want that, of course. So we split up our applications into layers, and we have the problem there when we change something in one layer, you have to change also something in the other layers. So we split up our backend in our microservices, and every microservice has its own database. You know all the story, of course, but we still have that front-end monolith, that Rhino. So we want to split up our front-end in the same way as our backend. A short definition of Micro Frontends is that we have to extend the concepts of the microservices to the front end. So we decided to split up our application into verticals. Verticals are also called the micro frontends, and they consist of front end and back end, and every vertical is responsible, focused on one business domain, and so a team can focus on one use case, and that is what we in the ideal situation want. And teams are working independent of each other, and the communication is between front ends is going with events, and the back end also. So I want to show you later on in action how you communicate between the such verticals. Why micro frontends? So you can upgrade your application incrementally, and can also speed up development because applications are very small. And every micro frontend has its own pipeline for deploy, release, and testing, of course. And the code base are simpler, smaller for every micro frontend, and every micro frontend is technically agnostic. You can build it in the language you want, and the teams work independently of each other. I created an app, an outdoor events app, where you can book events, and also the event to meet the Rhino in the Bardia Park in Nepal. So this application is also a micro front-end application. And it consists of a container, which is the main entry point of your application, which is responsible for authentication and for routing. And also it contains the micro frontend. So in my case, it is micro frontend for the searching, and micro frontend for showing the events. And when you go to when you want to book an event, on the book event button, you see this screen where you can book the event. And this also contains, this page also make use of the container, and also consists of one, in this case, one micro frontend, the book event. Before starting with micro frontends, we have to define this. We have to think about these things first. Where do we horizontally split our application or vertically? Horizontally split means that one team, or that multiple teams are working on one vertical, or one view, you can say, and also the backend. Multiple teams, and by vertical split, there are each one team is working on one view, one vertical. Microfront is not the same as a component. Microfront is more like a micro app. It's an app, and it can consist of multiple components. When you want to create a bundle a micro frontend from all of micro frontends together to one user-facing application. You have 3 integration techniques. The build time integration, when you build an application at build time out of multiple packages via package.json. And also at server side, you can bundle it out of multiple templates. And at runtime in the front end. So you see here another example about build time integration and the server side. You see that build time integration, we bundle it together. All those packages, and here every package is in our micro frontend, and we bundle it. At build time, server side integration, we compose our application out of multiple HTML templates. At server side, and at runtime, you bundle application in the front end. And I mainly focused in this talk about runtime integration, and how we do that with Webpack Module Federation. Build time integration, you can also use a monorepo for this. Monorepo is one repo for all your micro frontends and components together. And you have a lot of techniques, tools for this. For example, Angular workspaces, or and you see here how you can bundle such a such a micro frontend. It's nothing more than in package.json when you have multiple packages for every micro frontend, and you bundle it together. Oh yeah, I'm still standing there on the tree. Don't forget that, eh? I have a really big problem. Shall I survive? I'm still standing here, so I have survived it, but I was thinking, yeah, don't say what I'm going to do. The server-side integration is about composing your application at the server side out of multiple templates. And we have the runtime integration, where I fell in love with because I found a technique for it. And that is, web components. I've talked about it in other talks, so I skip that now. But I fell in love with Webpack Module Federation, where you can build your micro frontend app at runtime. What is Webpack Module Federation? You can load your micro frontends in a distributed way, remotely, at runtime. And you also have you can share your dependencies quite easily. And then when you have version conflicts between versions of the micro frontends, you can also solve that quite easily with Module Federation. I'll show you that. And you can also lazy load your micro frontends. So that will speed up your application, of course. You only load it when you need a micro frontend. How do we create such an application? First, we have to identify 2 roles. A role, a container, or a host, or a shell, they call it, on one side. And on the other side, you have the micro frontends. And the host shell is where we define our remotes. And there we map our micro frontend names. And micro frontend name has a known name, for example, outdoor events, and also the book event. And the micro frontend itself has an exposes section to expose their own components inside their micro frontend. So micro frontend can consist of multiple components, of course. You see one component per micro frontend, but you see a little bit the same example, but you have also the container can also have a shared section where you define your shared libraries. For example, in this case, a React application I've created, and it is a singleton, so only one can be available. And I used this version, and I set also the strict version on true, so you can have a console log, console error when we have version conflicts. In this example, you have a version conflict because my micro frontend uses another version. In this case, the highest compatible version will be loaded. So only version 18 is loaded. The rule is the highest compatible version will be loaded. How does that work? To manage the version mismatch. And when you have singleton is true, and you have the host version is version 18, and my version, the other version of the micro frontend is 17, then only version 18 is loaded. And the other another example is that you have two versions which are compatible. So you have to load the highest compatible version then. When singleton is false, you have to in the first section you have to load both, but it can also increase the bundle size. Then you have to load one version of React for the container and one version of React of your micro frontend or multiple micro frontends. And also, the last part is 18 and 18.1. Only version 18.1 is loaded because the highest compatible version is loaded. I created this application in React. So the search and outdoor events and the book events are the remotes, we say. And the container is our shell, and our and our React is our one of our shared libraries. How do we create such an app? We have a very simple command for this. You can create such an app with create micro frontend app. Here you can create your container application, and your micro frontends you can also separately generate with this commando. And and also you have you just change your configurations, which I've showed you already. You have to implement your components itself, and finally implement some routing. So those are the basic steps. This is all you need to generate such the parts of it. And to generate the container, you can here scaffold the container with this command, of course. You give it the name and the project type, and also the part number, and which framework you like in the front end. So you can also choose React, but also Svelte, Vue, etc. And for my micro frontend step 2, I also use the same command, and for every micro frontend I can it runs on a separate port, and also I choose React. And then finally, I have generated my micro frontend app in this way. You have this structure now, the book event for the detail page, and the container, and the outer events, and also a layout is for the header and the footer. That's nothing more than that. Step 3 is to change your configurations. I've talked about it already, so that's quite simple and easy for you now. This remotes section for the shell, and the exposes section you have to fill in for your micro frontend. You have to implement your components. Here you see a very simple component for the outdoor events, where you loop through a list of events with a map. And then you have here a card, and each card contains your a link to your micro frontend to book an event. And the link is outdoor events /slug. So slug can contain your event, as for example a Rhino event. And then you have to implement your routing, what I'm talking about already. So this is the example app. You can also grab it. Okay, I've also created this app in Angular and React together. It's a multi-framework app, so with React and Angular, also possible. When is it needed? A multi-framework, when you have to deal with legacy systems, you have to step over to multiple frameworks, but I should not recommend it because you have a big bundle size. You have to load, because you have to load Angular and React. And also to migrate from one UI framework to the other, for example, AngularJS, the old framework, to the new Angular. And also after merging of companies. You can also grab that example. Communication between micro frontends, you can do that with routing. I've done it in my application. That is one solution. You can also do that with via the local storage or async storage, which we use in mobile apps. Local storage has the disadvantage that you are not notified when there is data inside of it, placed in it. You cannot subscribe to it. But you can still use it when you have one page, one micro frontend, and on the other page another micro frontend, and you want to go from one page to the other. And during mounting of the second page, you can read the local storage. You can also make use of custom events. I show you a little example about it, how I created that, how I use that to communicate between micro frontends. And you can also use the pub/sub pattern, where you can place events on a topic, and you can the clients can listen to it. And a shared state via a library like Redux, for example, or NGRX for Angular. Communication between routing, you can use in React, you can use the browser router. You see that here I have a normal route with a slash, and also the outer event slug I have to define here to go to my detail page. And also I have an example of my app, of course. I extended with a shopping cart in the right corner. And I want to communicate from one micro frontend to the other. How do we do that? I've also added a button add to cart. If a button book event, also button add to cart. So you can add it to the cart, and you have to communicate from one micro frontend to the other. And how do I do that? I do it with custom events. You can also do that with local storage. When you want to define a local storage, it's quite easily. You can define a getter and a setter. And one micro frontend make use of the setter to set the count of your shopping cart, outer events cart count. And the second micro frontend, can grab it with the get item method. You can also communicate with, set up a communication with custom events, where you dispatch an event with window.dispatch event. And I dispatch here a custom event with the name add to cart. I increment it with 1. And on the other side, another microfront can listen to it with a event listener. You can also have a communication with a message bus, a pub/sub pattern, where you can publish an event on a topic. And you can also subscribe to that event You can also use that. And you can use a shared state library like Redux or NGRX where within Angular, where you have global state, and with the global state you can communicate quite easily between all those micro frontends. They can find each other. The disadvantage is that all those micro frontends are tightly coupled together then via the global storage. Is that what you want? That is, okay, you can argue about it. Here you see an example about how you define a Redux shared library to set up the shared communication. You define it in your container, a micro frontend, and in the shared part of the configuration, you define here your Redux dependency. I have a little demo about the shopping cart, where I where you can add something to the cart, and I communicate between the micro frontends outdoor events and also another micro frontend, the header, or I call it the layouts, and there it contains the header, and it listens to the add to cart custom event. So this is in the, let's see if I can switch quite easily. So I'm going to create this so that I can count it up here, etc. Yeah. Let's see if it is big enough. Wait a moment. Okay, yeah. You see the generated application. Here we have the container section where we define also which I've generated, and it also generated here a Webpack config. This is the part where we can configure our application. Let's do that. And here I define my remotes. And the remotes consist of outdoor events, micro frontend, book event micro frontend, and the layout micro frontend. And it maps to the URL of the micro frontend, which are they have all their own ports they are running on, 3000, 2002, 2003. And also they make use of the end of the URL. We have here a remote entry which contains metadata of every micro frontend. We have here also the outdoor events. There's also a Webpack config section where we define our where we exposes our component outdoor events. And also a shared library React. The outdoor event has a outdoor events component, what I say. Showed it already on the slides. I map here through the outdoor events, which I grabbed from the backend. And I created a card. The card is defined here. And in the card, I can link to my detail page. I've also a layout section where I define my, which is also a separate micro frontend with an own configuration. It is you can see that it exposes two through two components, the header and footer. And I'm going to use that header. Here you have a header. And I want to communicate from let's go to slides back. From the outdoor events, I want to communicate to the header. Right. Let's start up. How do I create it? I say, here in the outer event section, I edit a link. Wait a moment. To add something to your cart, and also a increment. I call it the increment method to increment my to fire a custom event. A custom event with the name add to cart, and also I dispatch the event I have defined here. And on the header section, I listen to the add to cart event. Firstly, I have in the header section, I have to define a state variable in React. How we do that? A state variable for the count in the shopping cart. Here you see the count. And it's placed next to the image of the shopping cart, of course. Here I define my state variable with a useState hook. And also define a useEffect hook, which is dependent on the count variable, which listen to that count variable. When it changes, it will also render. And the useEffect hook will also listen to with an event listener, it will listen to the add to cart event. It's quite easy. Document add event listener, add to cart. And it also calls the handle custom event. The handle custom event will pick up the increment action I've sent here. Here, increment action. And this section will handle the increment in it. It counts it up, my counter, with a set count method. So that's all you need to implement a communication between Micro Frontends with a custom event. It's quite easily. So this works now. Here you see I'm going further with a little bit by a high-level picture about communication. We can also make use of an API gateway, which stands in the middle of your front-end and your back-end. It is a server and is responsible for authentication, authorization, and also routing. And also you have you have also back-end for front-end, which is part of the API gateway, and is responsible for creating sophisticated APIs for the front end. And an example of it is a GraphQL, of course. You know that already, I think. And for GraphQL, you can, in front end, can ask precisely the data from the back end what they want. So when this example, I communicated with a custom event from one micro frontend to the other. That's what I've done already. But when I want to, when I do that, I can also, in this example, I want to grab some data from Micro Frontend E. I can also use GraphQL for that. I can grab some data from the backend via GraphQL in this way. So team A can get data from the backend via this way. That is possible. How do I survive my Rhino? What do you think? Ah, my goodness. It was so exciting. But so, I was afraid. Really. How do I survive it? We think, A, make yourself big and make a lot of noise. Nobody, of course. Run away zigzag. All right. That's quite good. A tiger comes by. Yeah, really. A tiger comes by. I have another talk. Not this talk, but also another talk about the rhino, about the tiger. Okay, that is... Or D, my friend took a photo. Why? Yeah, okay. Can be, can be. So my friend took a photo, indeed. He was standing there also in a tree, and he didn't see that I was in danger. And he has such an old camera, so he and the old camera made such a lot of noise that the click was so loud. So the Rhino feels himself very small, and it feels himself. He could walk away very fast, and he feels himself micro and agile, and he was he feels himself free, and he's still robust and strong, but he was feeling himself very tiny, like a micro frontend. So he is walking here away. I defeated the Rhino. Yes, I defeated the monolith. So this was my talk. Thank you very much.